This is Paul. Yes. And I just want to make mention that I actually have until um, about 3:02. I sent this at 2:57. Yes. From the computer out there. So I have about 15 minutes yet. It seemed like somebody was trying to tell me that I had to get out of the room. Yeah. Now, it would be nice to know if there are any particles. Yes. And there was this concept of the pirate, where a free recruit was on one tally $3.5 million. When you hold my son's hostage because of your violating of the actual laws of the United States, we don't pay pirates in the United States. You kidnap them, you issued a dissolution of marriage where you decided I didn't have the right to say anything about the amount of child support. I didn't have anything to say about the amount of time that I get as a father. And then you issued a protection order in 2011 where I was not given notice and opportunity to be heard. Now, as much as you might think of yourselves as pirates, I'm not going to pay you to enforce the laws. You're going to get arrested and you're going to pay me for not doing what the law requires. Do you understand how that works, judges? Now, at the height of the piracy scourge off the coast of Somalia almost a decade ago, average ransom to free a crew and vessel was by one tally $3.5 million. Judge Rohr, when you didn't make sure you removed my right to negotiate everything that was submitted as the want of the petitioner. Now, I don't owe back child support, but you owe me and my sons a considerable amount of money. So, this concept of, well, you're just going to have to do what we say, that's what pirates do. Pooch. Now, while we're at it, could you take a look around this area here? Yes. I'd like to know how many pirates are still out there kidnapping crews. Because I would think that a satellite could look through that area. We don't need anybody deciding that they're going to hold hostage American citizens because of the refusal to enforce the requirements of the law. Now, when I told you I want a phone call, you kidnapped them in 2011 and you got paid to do that. Now, I want my sons. I want a place to live where I can live with them. And I want to divorce my wife. So if you could enforce the laws of the United States, I'd like this hostage situation resolved. Now, there seemed to be some problems with the understanding of the undue influence of the sheriff. Yes. I had some time to look at this Foreign Affairs magazine. Yes. It's kind of interesting that during most of the 242 years, yes, Americans have recognized the necessity to give priority to ensuring freedom at home over advancing aspirations abroad. The founding fathers of the United States were actually aware that constructing a government in which free citizens would govern themselves was an uncertain and hazardous undertaking. Now, as the free citizens that have been elected or appointed to office, you made it very hazardous to keep you in the office that you swore that you would support and defend. Now, it seemed the founding fathers were concerned about this government that we call the government of the United States. And the hardest question they confronted was how to create a government powerful enough to ensure Americans' rights at home and protect them from enemies abroad without making it so powerful that it would abuse its strength. Ooch, ooch. Now, these rights at home that you're refusing to enforce. You are actually what the founding fathers were fearing, because you should have been free American citizens before you took office, before you became a police officer, and you would realize the freedom of not taking children from their parents without the requirements of due process. Now, the solution, as the presidential scholar Richard Neustadt wrote, was not just a separation of powers among the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, but separated institutions sharing power. Now, the Constitution was an individual invitation to struggle. Ooh. Presidents, members of Congress, judges, and even journalists have been struggling ever since. The process was not meant to be pretty. As Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis explained to those frustrated by the delays and gridlock and even idiocy these checks and balances sometimes produce, the founders' purpose was not to promote efficiency, but to preclude the exercise of arbitrary power. Now, Judge Rohr, you've exercised arbitrary power, and as a government, it's against the fucking law. Brent Baisden has exercised arbitrary power. The sheriff has exercised arbitrary power. Now, preclude the exercise, meaning that you would not use your power of office to violate the rights of American citizens. Now, I'm going to want those rights enforced. Okay. That means you're going to remove the protection order where there was no protection of the right to notice an opportunity to be heard before you issued it. 2011 until today. Oh. And you're going to remove the dissolution of marriage because you did not give me any right to notice an opportunity to be heard. And your local conspiracy is going to affect the rest of the nation because this nation has not protected the rights of Americans. So for every judge and justice that thought that, well, they just don't have jurisdiction, I would say your exercise of the arbitrary power to refuse to is going to result in the largest number of lawsuits in the history of this nation. Now, I don't want to sleep where I've been told I have to move from. I don't want to be a transient invitee. And I want this nation to enforce the fucking law.